After my first trip to Dollywood in 2016, I've been eager to visit again, mainly to ride the park's legendary Rmc Lightning Rod. The coaster was experiencing major issues during its first year of operation, which prevented it from being open during my entire week's stay. This time around in 2020 proved to be more fortunate. I was able to score multiple rides on Lightning Rod. In fact, the first thing I did after walking through the park gate was make a beeline for the coaster. The ride lived up to the hype, instantly finding its way into my top 5 coasters, but this video isn't about Lightning Rod. Nope, we're going to talk about the rest of the park. Dollywood has a lot of good things going for it. First, it's its location. The park is nestled in between the mountains, tucked away from the outside world. As far as I could tell, nothing is visible from the road. I love this feature as it really enhances that whole escapism feeling. After entering the park, you will notice how well kept this place is. The statues, gardens, buildings, all themed to that country charm. I would consider this park one of the best looking theme parks in the United States. Dollywood sticks to its style and does it well. As a coaster enthusiast, the main thing I care about at most parks is their coaster lineup. Dollywood has a very interesting lineup. The clear frontrunner is Lightning Rod. It's a roller coaster of its own class. The rest of the roller coasters seem to be comparable amongst each other and serve as great supporting attractions. Mystery Mine hasn't exactly aged well and is quite rough, but apparently the park is retracking certain sections of the ride, so the issues may be remedied soon. Oh, and the same thing is happening to Lightning Rod, but to a more extensive degree. The theming is on point with all the roller coasters. Mystery Mine has the most theming, but every roller coaster holds its own, at the very least, like Wild Eagle, Thunderhead, or Tennessee Tornado. The presentation is top notch. As for the rest of their ride attractions, the majority of their flat rides are family oriented. The park only has a couple of thrilling flat rides, like their Drop Line, a Drop Tower, and Barnstormer, a S&S Screamin' Swing. However, the park isn't geared towards the high thrill seekers. If you're looking for an adrenaline rush, well, just take a spin on a roller coaster. If not, most of your rides are designed so the whole family can enjoy. The new Wildwood Grove section of the park proves this point. Every attraction in this area is family oriented, including their new Vekoma suspended coaster. This section of the park is where my daughter wanted to spend the majority of our time. All the rides here are in her wheelhouse, and she loved jumping from one ride to the next. The theming in this section is also a step away from the country setting of the majority of the park, but it's also not jarring like at some other theme parks that you'd go to. It kind of works well and it meshes right from the country area into this fantastical forest. Wildwood Grove is themed to this forest, including a giant tree with butterflies filling almost every branch. The park has 2 water rides, Daredevil Falls and Raging River Rapids. On a hot day, which we were at the park in July, it's always nice to cool off and both of these attractions hit the spot. Personally, Daredevil Falls felt more like a complete attraction, as Raging River Rapids didn't have many water elements. It just kinda like meanders around for the majority of the ride. Well, beyond all those rides, there's also one other standout attraction, and that's the Dollywood Express. This is a genuine coal-fired steam engine that takes you on an approximate 5-mile journey. Unfortunately, this is the one attraction we were unable to accomplish, and that was because of the social distancing. In 2016, we were able to get a ride on this, but not this year. Only a third of the train was being loaded, so the line for this attraction was the longest in the park. We could have waited around for the train, because the train dispatches every hour, but with a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old, there was no way we would be standing in the lightly shaded queue for an hour in July. And honestly, it might have been 2 hours because the line was so long that even after waiting for one train, you might not even make it on the next train an hour later. Well, hopefully this attraction will be back up to full capacity in 2021 and beyond. If not, well, just be warned. It might sound counterintuitive, but you actually might consider running to Dollywood Express, the first ride of the day, instead of heading over to Lightning Rod. But again, make sure to check the train's schedule because it doesn't always operate every single hour of the day. Well, Dollywood has many other things to enjoy if you don't care about the attractions. First, there are the shows, but this option was limited in 2020. The park has plenty of shops filled with authentic Southern memorabilia and souvenirs to choose from. finally is the food. Dollywood has a lot of great food options and dessert options. You always gotta try their famous cinnamon bread during every visit. There are a couple things that I would say is missing from Dollywood. First is a good dark ride. The park does have Blazing Fury, which is a quasi roller coaster dark ride. It's starting to show its age, and thus why the park could use an additional dark ride attraction. I think one of those interactive shooter attractions would fit in nicely at Dollywood. Next is another standout roller coaster, mostly a hyper roller coaster. The park needs another great airtime roller coaster that's also a crowd pleaser. Dollywood has one of the greatest airtime machines with Lightning Rod, but this is a high-octane thrill coaster which may prove too much for some guests. A good B&M Hyper would fit nicely here at the park, but there are other manufacturers that could do the job like Mack Rides, but we'll save this topic for another day. Honestly, Dollywood feels like a near-complete park. I think adding a dark ride and another roller coaster would really round this place out. They already have plenty to do, but if you've been here before and only care about the coasters, I could see you grabbing a few rides on Lightning Rod and making a quick lap through the back of the park and calling it quits. Oh, and I haven't really brought this up, but I want to talk about the park layout. It's actually very interesting. It's a giant loop, which sounds like it's a good pattern, but unfortunately, the back section of the park is like up on a hill, so be prepared to do a lot of walking going uphill. With a family that might have a stroller, do keep this in mind. I wouldn't overload yourself because, well, it's going to be a workout pushing that stroller up and down that hill all day. So if there was a theme park in the United States that I'm most curious about its future, it has to be Dollywood. The park has great funding and their planning department seems to have a good gauge of what their guests are looking for. Its joint ownership with Dolly Parton and Herschend Family Entertainment seems to be a good mix. As of right now, there's no major new attractions announced for Dollywood, but the upgrades coming to Lightning Rod and Mystery Mine, the future looks bright. So if I were to give this park a rating, I would give it a 9. As a coaster enthusiast, I think there is plenty of here to enjoy. However, the park is geared towards families and my family had a great time at Dollywood. Kids between the ages of 5 and 11 will find the most to do, but that doesn't mean the rest of the family can't join in all the fun. Well, that was my review of Dollywood. Let me know what you think of this great theme park in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please click that like button and make sure to subscribe. That way you won't miss out on more great content coming your way by X Cream Thrills.